trades in that solo top lane matchup now.
I just always feel like Mbessa is a completely different champion once you have the Eclipse. You know, it's especially for HP stackers, whether you're a tank or something like this Rek'Sai. The trades just become so horrible after Mbessa is post 6 with Eclipse. All of a sudden, you just can't really hurt her. It becomes very difficult to deal with. That being said, because you have Titanic, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of just fight the wave and just one-shot the wave over and over, keep her off the tower. But definitely keen. Back-to-back games in a good spot here. Again, really impressed me on this Ion. I just can't sing this guy's praises enough. He really has been so incredible. Can do anything that Gen G asks of him, regardless of the role, regardless of your weak side, strong side. He is just fantastic.
Yeah, and so long did he try to get to this position in the LCK, try to manage to get through all of the ranks. He's gone from 10th to champion across the course of his career, and last year really the year that he came to the fore in the minds of many around the world. As we saw KT looking for something up towards that top side, weren't quite able to find it. There's a herald up in a minute's time, so Peter and BDD are just going to team up to deny some vision. There's still a lot of wards for Gen G around the bottom side of that river.
In a sport where there's so many players that just never get on the team that actually gets it done, never get the support that they need, it's such a feel-good story of a player that just kept his form throughout all those years until there was a core around and that could actually support him. Obviously starting with that breakout year in 2023 KT.
I mean, even beyond that, it's just hard to look good on a bad team, right? Like, it's so hard to even have people pay attention to you because League is such a team game, and when other lanes are losing, the map can just fall apart very, very quickly, especially on a pretty team-dependent role like top lane. So it is just so impressive to see how resilient he has been throughout his career, and I love to see players like that really getting their due, really getting their recognition after being able to kind of grind their way up from the literal bottom of the LCK.
Looking at the game state right now, we have 2 item spikes approaching for a couple of the members. Most notably, Ruler really wants to try and finish that second item, get the stack set up. In about a minute, we'll have the Drake fight set up. Minute and a half until the Drake actually spawns, and it will be a must fight for KT. They have a really, really strong ability, I think, to both rotate around the map with the Realm Warp, as well as use the power of that Rek'Sai and Kiana to get on the back line. Gen G, not going to let them breathe. Starts up the Herald.
Herald begun, TP coming in. KT looking to cut Duro and Ruler off from an easy path up towards the river. Canyon realizes it, backs away from the Herald, which will reset its patience in a moment. Chovy TPing in. The hook's going to land, though, as they look for Peter. Flashes in, head up, Pulverize, Supreme Display of Talent as well, but only onto Chovy. The redemption comes out as Ruler. Arcane shifts forward. He wants part of this fight. Canyon with the Crescent Guard. Chain of Corruption will lock him up, and it's missed times as they go in. Ruler able to pick up one, another hook coming out from Duro. The depth charge on the back line into the taunt from Chovy. Gen G rule the rift as KT can find nothing.
Gen G showcasing their incredible team fighting here. That was just immaculate. Early force on the ult from Peter. They back off. They avoid Cuz on the re-engage. And then Ruler finds space on the side of the fight to go aggressive. Duro finds another hook. And Gen G were just dancing around that fight perfectly.
And what goes up must come down as the roller coaster, yet another hurdle on the journey. Peter gets engaged on early, tries to re-engage, get value out of his ultimate, but not gonna be enough. As the chase from Ruler in particular, the big point for me here, he is completely unmatched. Finds Peter, but then this hook, almost bending it around the wall. The follow-up from Chovy is great. And rightly so, Perfect Bisco, guys. I am not joining this fight. I am just going to make sure we get the turret, and I think that got them defeats as well. As KT, another setback. Now, that hasn't really been permanent when it comes to the setbacks. They've been extremely resilient, and we will see if they can replicate that in this Dragon fight.
Ruler now 2,500 gold ahead of his opposite man, already on his going towards his third item as Docdam only sits on one. Perfect looking for the flank. The Drake begun, Hex flash forward. Canyon dives onto Peter. Riptide has been summoned towards the topsiders. They go in for the fight, and we see KT able to secure the Drake, but Peter now needs to retreat. Perfect up towards the top side, trying to distract Canyon. Peter falling lower. Down comes the anchor and sends him into the depths. Gen G find another. For KT, they got the Drake, and that's really all they wanted. The Riptide charges in. Perfect matches it. Should be able to kill it off. Duro with a good hook away, but BDD still on the chase. Depth charge! Arcane shift! Mystic shot from Ruler, but into the Supreme Display of Talent as KT turn it around. Canyon forced away as they chase forward onto him. Perfect finds another. KT turn around the fight.
And it's straight up disrespect from Gen G, looking for exit kills, and Katie says thank you very much as Ruler tries to replicate the last play, but instead just arcane shifts to his
once
doom.
more. He's potentially going to go in here onto Keen.
Look at the Keen, who does still have that flash. And in the end, KT will back away from the play. Car's able to steal more of these camps away. The gold lead Ruler had cut by 800. He is still the most fed player in the game, but KT have shown if Gen G overstep, they'll pounce.
It's just incredible. You know, you're going up against a team that I would say probably greater than 80% of people coming in thought were going to be the runaway favorites. We're supposed to win this event. You're falling behind. You're giving arguably the best AD carry of all time a massive gold lead, almost an entire item ahead, and then you're saying, nah, I just win.
And they do, and this is a split call, I think, here from Gen G, because Ruler going in that aggressive when there is no follow-up. Keen was facing. They clearly weren't expecting KT to play this heavily towards holding on to that mid lane pressure, and that is a lot of gold being reinvested, and what goes down in KT Rollercoaster's case also must go back up again.
Exactly, just for the acceleration, and I've got to say, when you're an underdog, you can never play with fear. If a play fails, you have to just go right back at them. Play towards the strengths of your competition, and I think that's something that KT has done beautifully through these two games. They're not just saying, all right, it went bad, let's just try to scale, we'll sit back. They're going to pounce on every single opportunity that Gen G give them.
And KT couldn't be bigger underdogs. You have to look at it. We talked about the predictions earlier on today, but
right on pace for my prediction. I don't know what you're talking about.
Already. Most of us are just wrong already. Or everyone predicting that 3-0 for Gen G. A couple of 3-1s here or there. As they'll... I'm sorry, I know you were memeing. I know you were joking.
Dead serious.
Dead serious. Okay.
My honest prediction, 3-0. I don't know. I just don't know why you guys didn't see it.
Hindsight is 20/20. I've got to say.
It's the Peter angle, you know?
Into the future, apparently. As KT now with a slight gold lead. It's not over yet. They are still very even in this game. For Gen G, you still have Ruler, one of the best AD carries, if not the best AD carry in the world, on a pick that is so hard to pick off. He is still on his way to that third item, but for KT, these small moments, these small fights really start to accelerate things in their favor.
It's still the night and day between how Gen G looked against Hanwha Life and how they look against KT now, right? And that is just the intangibles, the fact that Chovy is in another semi-final, something that most players dream of ever achieving, but for him it's just been a hurdle. And right now, 2 item spikes, hit for Keen as well. He has come through for Gen G so many times as I think they're looking towards Otacon.
And you can't overstate it enough, right? When, for Chovy, really the only thing he hasn't done is won Worlds, right? He's won LCK a bunch of times, he's won MSI, he's dominated in every other conceivable way. You work your entire year long for these couple games that you're playing, and the amount of pressure that he must be putting on these games, on himself in these moments, is just immense, because it doesn't matter what he did the rest of the year. If you don't win at Worlds, for Chovy, that's a failure. That's the level of player he is.
He said it himself. It's not just about the win. It's about playing well alongside it. He puts so much pressure on himself to perform in moments like this and to fall at not quite the final hurdle, but one short of it again. Would be such a disappointment for him as a player and for Gen G as a lineup. 8 years since they last made it to the finals, 8 years since they last won the World Championship as Samsung Galaxy. There it was T1 they met. Here I feel we've talked a lot about how this year matches 2017 in many different ways for Gen G. I damn well hope it does, as Keen and Perfect meet down towards this bottom side. We have 20 seconds left on the Drake. Would be sole point for Gen G. Would be the second for KT. Otacon available, but we've seen enough throws at that throughout this world. And I don't think either of these teams are going to immediately go for it unless they find the perfect window.
I mean, that's the thing. We keep seeing that, but teams still have the confidence to start it, right? They're going to go right to it. And we've seen that time and time and time again. But Dragon spawning here in 5 seconds. KT with good positioning here once again in the area. You can see Chovy is moving down. BDD is going to TP early to be with the squad, but we'll see if they just are going to start it. It looks like they will.
Double to B.
A couple of wards in the back of the pit from Gen G as they look to gain vision around it. Perfect looking for that flank. No wards where he is. Jhoeraine going in with the hook. Drake down to 6,000. Perfect still peeking his head out as they dive in. Canyon looking for the steal here, but it's Cuz that gets it. BDD forced to flash away. Here is Angels from Chovy in the pit. Keen diving forward. Ruler caught out by Perfect. Canyon falling lower as Cuz finds two. KT winning the fight on the bottom side, but the top side is all in favor of Keen. Ruler almost going down. Chovy still on the chase. Dogdam trying to get away. Perfect and Peter trying to protect him. The flash away from Dogdam. The taunt short from Chovy. Chovy falls. Only the top laners left alive, and Perfect will burrow his way away.
What a team fight from Keen, though, and what a team fight from these two teams. It is an absolute bloodbath, but it's Cuz that walks away, importantly, with the Dragon here, grabbing another one for his team. Keen just solos out BDD, though, in the face of Perfect. He had an incredible fight here, really keeping it close.
And it's starting to feel like Gen G, again, not quite the timing right there to deny X's for Cuz. And look at these health bars here multiple times. BDD on the edges of this fight. Perfect actually finding Ruler at the beginning. And as a result, Ruler can't quite dish out the damage. And then right here, Dogdam staying alive really buys the time for Perfect to then get back on top. There's no cooldowns, and you can see on the face of Cuz, he's feeling himself on this Kiana. Giant gold lead here for him, and he's been getting the better end of Canyon in this entire series.
Look at the damage from Dogdam. 7,000 in a single fight on that Varus. For KT, every fight like that is elation. You're the underdog. It is your rebellion. You're taking down the champions elect. For Gen G, every fight like that, excruciating. Every moment you're like, oh, we could have won it. We could have got the Drake. We would have been on Soul Point. And now, Gen G will call for a fight at Ardakan. KT will muster their men and we'll see another battle.
Yeah, Perfect's TPing already, but BDD is moving over. They are a little bit slow to join here, and Duro could just try to control this Tri-Brush. It looks like a difficult approach, and KT, they're going back for the red buff to try to buy time, but that's been spotted. They're too late now, it feels like.
Cuz might look for the steal. Baron coming onto the rift, but Gen G already secured the Ardakan. KT backing away. Cuz still looking for that supreme display of talent, a game changer around terrain like this, but in the end, it will just be the red buff to KT, the Ardakan to Gen G.
And that's a trade that Gen G will more than happily take. Obviously gonna be very happy that they're able to, again, get this lead. When it comes to the pedals, Ardakan has been so very highly valued by teams. That's the only conclusion you can draw, because it feels like teams keep taking a very big risk to secure it. Mid lane turret still stands. KT might be looking for a punish.
Tower down to about a third. Dogdam coming in from the side as well. Does have that chain of corruption, but in the end, Gen G will back away without pushing the tempo any further. Gold basically even, 2 Drakes apiece. The Ardakan really the only difference between the two. The chain of corruption into the hail of arrows. Ruler needs the protection of Chovy to keep him alive, and he'll find it. KT, though, now having chunked out the enemy AD carry, can push for the tower.
Really well played there by Dogdam, just playing around vision around that corner. Gets Ruler so incredibly low, they're threatening.
Gen G have to back away. The risk of getting knocked up there. The follow-up from Peter would have been enough. Supreme display of talent, obviously down from Cuz. But KT will take the tier 1 in mid. We'll see what Gen G do around these resets. Sometimes when a team finds a pick like that, at least on a tower, you see them backing away and then they lose their tower in response. But KT are keeping Dogdam around to defend.
And Dogdam sitting here with that Serpent's Fang, actually able to negate a lot of the shielding to come through for so many members on Gen G. For Duro, for Keen, for Chovy. We saw the damage he was able to output there as Gen G gonna start off this Baron. I think trying to catch KT off guard. KT does know this is happening.
BDD's in the bot side, does have the teleport and will use it immediately to come up here. It was on a reset, instead TP's in. Gen G with that Baron down to 6k. The hook's gonna land onto Peter. He pops the Unbreakable Will to try and walk away. Cannon goes in with the Crescent Guard, but they can't find the damage onto the cow. Perfect, chipping away at them from the bottom side. Chovy's still looking for chase. In the end, it's an Alistar ultimate, and KT disengage.
Yeah, that got pretty dicey for Gen G. Peter, again, this was an issue in that first game. Going a little bit too far ahead of the rest of the team. Loses his ulti, and he is not going to be punished for it, but we'll see if they can find anything.
And we'll see if Gen G's happy with that, because that was, to me, felt like they wanted to get cooldowns to play for Dragon, right? Because the moment that the teleports came through, they immediately backed off. Chovy still has his, so he can now be a sideline pressure point. Same for Keen. And this is going to be soul point for whichever team picks it up. Both Doctor and Ruler have access to their flashes. BDD just now finishes his Void Staff. Third item for Cuz as well.
The problem for Gen G is they don't really have vision around this area at all. They've got a single control ward, now a couple in that mid lane bush. Peter caught out with a hook once again as he has to flash away. Has the honey fruit to pop himself up as Ruler lands the damage across the wall. He couldn't see him! It was blind and Ruler finds his man. KT now a man down, can't defend. The Drake secured soul point for Gen G.
Yeah, the problem is they're just going to go to Baron, I think, here, and they're just going to force your hand. Peter getting caught back-to-back fights. This time he doesn't have the ulti. And BDD and Perfect were pretty late to the fight, so Gen G just walk through mid, they get the Dragon, they go to Soul Point, they take tier 1, and now they're going to put pressure here onto the Baron, and Peter's not up for 10.
How's is going to look for the steal. Ruler wisely standing on this side of the wall, now dashes in with that arcane shift. Perfect, clears out a bit of vision. Cuz hasn't been seen here. Gen G, the Baron down to 6.5k. Canyon and Ruler still on it. Cuz still looking for the steal. Perfect and BDD down towards the bottom side, distracting the rest of Gen G. Cuz can jump in. The Winds of War from Chovy. Duo knocked up. Redemption out. Canyon almost falling as Cuz dives into the pit. There's no jungler there. Canyon goes in and he manages to land the smite. KT now on the back foot. Public execution from Keen not quite connecting. And KT turn and burn. Peter's here for a little bit more. The hero's entrance won't be quick enough to save his support. Perfect diving onto that back line. Chovy falling lower. Keen forced away towards the top side. Chovy with a stopwatch. Down can't land. The piercing arrow through that. Flash away. The Realm Warp gets KT out. But Gen G secure the Baron.
And Gen G, they walk away with the objective. But that felt anything or nothing like the Gen G we're used to. KT, a little bit of an overstep there towards the end. Again, looking for that blade to equalize it. As the Rebel Baron power play will be in favor of Gen G, but that was close.
I mean, let's be honest, it came down to a complete burger flip. Canyon got chunked down very low here. It was Doctum again, beautiful all over the wall, gets him low, and then Cuz is on the Baron, but Canyon flashes back in, able to finish it off. That was so close. If KT walking away with that Baron, it is devastating for Gen G. And then again, this re-engage this time from Peter was beautiful. Chovy comes through with the ulti. But Doctam and BDD the whole time are just free-firing, getting so much work done in these fights.
And Doctam just unchecked in any of these fights. As you can see, the KT coaches still not used. Despite everything on being on the roller coaster, it never gets old. Ruler doing an incredible amount of damage in that fight, and now Gen G, we've seen him in his position. Last time it was Canyon going in too deep. They get a redo this time around.
BDD's pushing in a side lane. KT have already given up the ghost on this inhibitor and well, at least the tower. Gen G can push for more. Chovy's pushing in mid for that tier 2. The inhibitor will go down on the bottom side as KT look to defend their mid tower. BDD does have the TP. Chovy's a little bit isolated here. Ruler arcane shifts across to make sure his Galio can walk to safety. Gen G now with this Baron power play, 4k out of it.
Yeah, creating a pretty large advantage, but they are not out of it just yet. GA completed, Zonia's completed, second GA now coming through. Canyon and Keen both have theirs done, but we can't count KT out. They have shown us in this series their resilience, how much they are just fighting and scrapping for everything. Gen G absolutely in control. But really, it's eyes on this next Dragon. 145, if KT can get that Dragon, the game will absolutely continue. But you have to think with the lead that Gen G already have, if they claim Soul, it's pretty much theirs.
Look at how close that is to game 1, man. Like, this is exactly the same time it started going up for Gen G. And that fall at the end of the climb of the coaster for KT is exactly what they wanted. True Shot Barrage takes half of Docdam's HP. Almost a K off his total.
Yeah, that's an unhappy duck. That was not great. We'll see if Gen G can turn it into anything more, though. Giant wave crash here will get them at least a good amount of damage, but it does look like KT have been able to hold off on most of this. Obviously, the big issue is that upcoming possibility for a Soul mid lane turret also will fall as the rest of KT just looking to base and setting up for this upcoming fight.
And you always have to get concerned when it's going to come down to one of these objective fights about the vision, right? You look at Gen G, how they're playing in this space, taking that over, sweeping out wards. Yeah, the Baron's gone, but you know that KT had been locked up in their base for so long that they haven't been able to get out on the map and reclaim vision. And Peter has been getting picked a number of times, and it could be a repeat.
Flash hook, immediately they look for Cars, they'll take out the jungler. Ruler finds the kill, and now Peter tries to flash away, tries to get to safety. KT will shepherd him back into the base, but Gen G don't even need to turn towards that Drake yet. They can push for the tier 2 on the top side, they can push for the inhib tower on mid.
And Gen G not wanting to repeat their mistakes of game number 1 when Canyon went in way too deep this time, waiting for them to approach. That should just be the soul, right? That should just be the Ocean Soul going over to Gen G, making the side laning Mbessa even more impressive than it already is.
I mean, it's the exact same spot that Keen set up that pick last game, like you're saying, you know, but then it was Canyon going too far. It was the fight getting turned around. This time, they basically get a redo, and they do it perfectly. Dogdom jumped very low, and now you have to think, I mean, Lethality Varus against Ocean Soul, it is so hard to really have much value. You are now looking really for 100-0 type plays, right? You have got to find that perfect engage, burst someone down before they have a chance to get value from that Ocean Soul, or you just don't have much of a chance.
And you already highlighted it, Azil. I'm looking at 1 GA, 2 GA, Stopwatch, Mercurial Scimitar, and then I guess Nautilus, you know, that could work.
Yeah,
right?
You could kill him.
Redemption Locket.
Yeah,
Redemption Locket's
it's
pretty
fine.
hard to get through.
He doesn't even have flash right now.
I mean, look, he's a guy from the ocean with an Ocean Soul. I think that gives him like double power out of it or
Set
something,
bonus.
you know?
Yeah, no,
set
I'm
bonus.
with you.
It's going to be really difficult for KT to find a way back into this game, but we said that in game 1.
And I will say, if you can hang on for these next 5 minutes here, you know, we're assuming that Gen G should have prior over the Baron. Elder is the great equalizer.
Elder flip.
Exactly, and sometimes in a game like this, your best chance can just be, hey, just delay, wave clear, try to hang on. That's not easy to do, but if you can, and you can flip an Elder, win that out, well, all of a sudden, Ocean Soul doesn't really mean nearly as much, but Gen G, again, just masterful in how they are controlling vision. They're just moving in, clearing out all these wards. They're making the approach so difficult for KT.
And that's kind of a flex from Dogdom, right? Like being up.
Peter's going. Immediately they dive into Chovy. They have the Chain of Corruption coming out as well. It's going to land the Crescent Guard out as well from Canyon. Chovy falling lower. Perfect's on the flank. Lands a double knockup. Chovy needs to get out, and he will. A public execution slays the cow. Roast beef for Keen as he finds 2. Dogdam will follow. Canyon dives back in. Flashes away. Still has the Angel to bring him back to life. And now Keen can advance, and Cuz can do nothing but flash and a try to get himself out. Keen will chase for days, though. Cuz forced down towards this blue side jungle. KT lose the fight. Gen G, do you stick or do you twist? It looks like Baron is their target.
Yeah, Cuz still going to stay around, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to get in the area. He's hoping he can find a miracle to get in that pit. I mean, he has the sweeper. He knows he's not spotted, but he is now.
Ruler jumps immediately onto him. He knows his job here. They don't need the damage on the Baron, just force Cuz away. Can't quite hit the Mystic shot. Perfect here, the TP in for BDD, another TP to follow it. As KT think perhaps we can take the fight after the big purple worm. Peter's here to join the fray, but Baron already for Gen G. KT now back away. The Realm Warp used, True Shot barrage on Cuz. Almost takes him out. And now Gen G with the Baron can push in, another TP from KT. They try to find reinforcements to push this wave away.
And Gen G, at first it looked dire. I like that from Peter. You have to go for these flippy plays, right? You're looking to lose the game. You need to go for the Hail Mary. And 99 times out of 100, that cow does not jump over the wall, but the teleporting cow this time finds his mark. But there are all these luxury items, right? The fact that Chovy stays alive for so long, and the fact that Canyon just gets to play with reckless abandon.
And I mean, look at how Keen is playing, right? You know, yes, the public execution does not hit onto Dogdom, but it doesn't matter. He hits Peter, and he just taxis him over there. Dogdom flashes out, but Keen is fair to follow, instantly knocks him down as well. Keen is just untouched. I mean, it's not like you can start a fight out going for the Mbessa. You have to deal with some of these other members, but that just gives Keen all the freedom in the world to just crush through these fights. He's going to have a beeline straight towards Dogdom. And Dogdom, it's never a 1v1 you can win in a million years.
10-0 on the pick. This Mbessa has been Keen's talisman throughout the year. Looking to make it 11-0 here in the semi-final to put Gen G on the board in this series. They've had control of game 1. Here they have more control over game 2 with the Ocean Soul. Still 2 minutes before the Elder and a minute and a half before this Baron expires. The bot lane inhib has respawned for KT.
Last time it was a hero play from BDD. The Q-free follow-up by the rest of his team that got KT out of what felt like, at that point, a position that generally Gen.G wouldn't lose from, as they are unrelenting, pushing on.
Ooh, Chain of Corruption comes out. Ruler with the Mercurial is going to cleanse away that slope. It was here that BDD managed to do it, but he doesn't have the same impetus to engage, doesn't have the same tools in his arsenal to get their inhib on the top side, taken by Gen.G. Now KT will put all 5 players to defending this mid lane wave that Chovy is going to begin to bring in. Gen.G though can still use the top side, knock up onto Keen, he dashes away. The route onto Jhoeraine with the Rune Prism, perfect, falling lower. Forced away by Ruler. Will be able to heal up in that passive. True Shot Rush dodged by Cuz, but not by Peter. A public execution onto the backline, the knockback onto Keen immediately. The redemption coming out as well. Crescent Guard, BDD trying to get onto Jhoeraine, will find it. The taunt onto Cuz, Keen dashing in, knocked back under the tower, but Ruler untouched. Canyon untouched. Chovy untouched, and Gen.G marching down mid for the win.
And you know Ruler is calling for that. Pentine comes right now. Already picked up his double. KT though, they're gonna try and hold on. TP's gonna come in. Baron buff still for another 10 seconds.
Reset coming out from Chovy. He's finished a neat death cap through Abaddon's for that extra bit of damage. The Nexus Tower's falling. Ruler and Chovy take the first. Keen trying to get this wave in for the second. Perfect. Octam and Peter needs to try and defend, but Peter's already back in the base, just healing up on that fountain. The Nexus Tower falling lower. Ruler with the True Shot Barrage can still arcane shift away from the oncoming Rek'Sai. The Nexus Tower will be taken. Keen behind them. KT trying to defend, but they just don't have the wallets. Gen.G will answer the fight and go 1-1 in the series.
Gen.G battling back here. KT kept the pressure on, but Gen.G are just too damn good. What a performance from Ruler in this one. Critical in their win. Start to finish felt like he was ahead. The team is creating space. Ruler and Keen, to me, were the real keys of this game.
They really were. Vesk, what'd you think of that one?
I think we definitely agree. We agree. Ruler and Keen. Yeah.
Everyone setting up Ruler for success. That man played the sickest and also, I think, most leisurely Ezreal game of his life.
Yeah.
Some fights were clutch, but some fights no one could get to him. He just got to sit there shooting pot shots out, and every single one felt like it was landing.
I do feel like Gen.G are so good at executing these kind of compositions where you're like, okay, we're around 1 damage dealer. This time it's Ruler, occasionally
Well,
it's
Mbessa.
Mbessa is definitely a damage
Mbessa
dealer.
also does a lot of damage, yeah.
It does. Hey, it didn't start off great for Gen.G. It actually started off phenomenal for KT. Okay, paint me a picture if you're a Kiana and you get into this game and you get like 3 kills.
You feel
early.
amazing.
How do you feel and what happened?
That's why this series has been so fun to watch, because it has been close, because it has been a roller coaster, and this roller coaster started out with LCK Kiana actually getting 3 kills, and LCK Kiana does not usually win games. Well, didn't end up winning this one either, but he did get us hyped though with the chase down river, and look at how they split the fight. So the realm warp that BDD puts down, look at Doctum. He fakes like he's going into it, then he cancels it, walks back to BDD, and so everyone turns. Peter then did take it, came back, heads butts to be able to get the other extra kill here, and it's just the spacing that KT had in this fight around the Galio, around the engages from Gen.G was really nicely played.
It was I feel like of all junglers, Cuz has a little LPL jungler style in him, you know? Like, he interacts with his lanes really well, like bringing out the Kianas in line with some of the other picks we've seen from him, the Viego, the Nocturne, you know? So I also just loved how they did play with space, like you pointed out, with Peter kind of baiting Gen.G into pressing forward.
But it wasn't gonna last, Kobe. Unfortunately for KT.
That's why it's a roller coaster.
Whoa! What happens next?
Next one we have is a really good Gen.G fight where they actually space out Peter himself, the Alistar. They work around these Alistar cooldowns. So let's take a look here, because the engage at the very beginning is one of the critical parts. Let's roll through this. You see them going on to the Alistar here, immediately backing up after he ults. Then they kind of draw out that plus the Kiana CC, so they know all the major CC from KT has been used. And look at how methodically Gen.G moved this fight forward. Ruler ends up flashing forward after the Alistar ultimate fell off. Then Duro hits an amazing hook here into the Chovy combo that sets up for Canyon to wrap around through the Rift Herald pits and come through and set up these 3 kills for Ruler. You were talking about Ruler, the caliber of this player. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame basically already, and if you give him a bunch of money on Ezreal.
I'm with you. We've got to debate what skin and what year right at this point, but 100% the big thing for me there is look at Cuz in that fight. He has no space to play. In that long drawn-out initial fight, before everyone's level 6, he had room on this Kiana, but against the Galio, the Nautilus, it's so impossible. He's in melee range of Ruler, and he is helpless in that fight, which just shows how confident Gen G are in the comp that they put together.
Yeah, and Cuz and VDD thinking, oh, he's done this to us before at Worlds in China. But yeah, Ruler goes absolutely huge, and he's, you know, of all the I don't want to say 2-pronged attack from Gen G, it's like 5-pronged at this point, but he's such an important tip of the spear.
1,300
Yeah, wow.
damage per minute.
Yeah, Ezreal's usually get around 1K sometimes. This is insane. And also I want to point out the damage percentage. Actually, both ADs, I think, were at about 40% across this entire game.
And if we look at this, what I was looking at for 2017 versus 2025, KT is looking to rewrite history.
Yeah, and I mean, we pointed out how it's Gen G now who are kind of in that Longzhu spot, despite the fact that it was Longzhu coming out 6-0 in groups. But then lost to Samsung and Ruler in that quarterfinals. Now, Cuz and BDD looking for their revenge. They'll have to go back to the drawing board in the next game.
Yeah, and it's not the worst place to be in. It's a 1-1 because you did win that first game. I do think they still showed a lot of fight in the second one, and I feel like because of game 1, perhaps Gen G is conditioned and KT is conditioned that they can turn around even deficits in this game, because they even did it in this game, Dracos, when they were behind.
Well, and I do like that they're confident to force those plays. Perfect had that final play where they made it work. They were too far behind in gold, but I like that despite some flubs, they start off really strong, that initial Alistar play. It gets pretty bad for Peter in a lot of these fights, but ultimately he still has the confidence to pull the trigger, and I think that is crucial for a team that has been going toe-to-toe with Gen G, reminding of us of that upper bracket upset. They need to keep that momentum going forward.
And I have to say, coming into this series, myself and a lot of people were looking at the top lane matchup as maybe the most lopsided matchup. And with Keen having a good game here on a carry champion, I still think that this is probably one of the most dangerous things for KT is going to be the top lane individual matchup. Keen is just so good. He can fit into any team comp that you want to execute on, and he definitely can carry.
Yeah, I think some people might just look at the lane and then being like, yeah, but he didn't get like that far ahead or a million miles ahead in either games, but he's just really good at converting what he has into what the team needs, into the team fights.
Yeah, and in these team fights, you could tell he had such great backline access. The public executions were really, really good coming out of him, and then by contrast, it was so difficult for KT to get onto Ruler.
Yeah, and I am excited to see what BDD and Cuz can cook up. I'm excited to see the depth of their champion pools. But I'm very
okay. Sorry. Twice?
Whatever. We have to keep going. Okay, take the boot. But what I will say is I am very concerned for Perfect, because in the top lane he plays Sion, he plays Rumble, he plays Renekton. Game 1 we lost 2 of those. The Rek'Sai didn't look good. I don't know where he goes.
I was giving him some grace, but it was rough. But hey, it's gonna have to be near perfect if KT want to bring us to match point first, because right now Gen G strike back with their eye on the grand final.
As Ruler, Arcane shifts forward, he wants part of this fight. Canyon with the Crescent Guard, Chain of Corruption will lock him up, and it missed times as they go in. Ruler able to pick up one, another hook coming out from Duro. The depth charge on the back line into the taunt from Chovy. Gen G rule the rift as KT can find nothing.
Gen G showcasing their incredible team fighting here.
Hey players, I know a lot of you have been asking about the winter map and why we haven't been able to do it, and I'll tell you, it's really difficult. Our tech and tools need some work. Hand painting everything in the map itself is a lot of effort, and not to mention there's gameplay clarity. And can we just talk about how even though it's winter in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere it's summer, and isn't that where Medlane's from? He's from New Zealand, right? So I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull it off. But you know what? Because you really asked for it, we're just gonna do it anyways. Winter map is coming back, everyone. Winter 2025 and summer 2025 somewhere else. It's winter everywhere on Summoner's Rift.
there. If I was to like make a misplay, maybe it's my mouse, maybe it's my armrest, something feels wrong. If you were at home, you wouldn't do that.
The Infinite Precision Armrest is part of the larger Circulab on Stage standard initiative, aimed to bring your home or training room settings to the tournament stage.
이제 저뿐만 아니라 다른 선수들도 세팅을 더 원활하게 할 것 같고
가장 편안할 때 더 강력한 플레이가 자연스럽게 나옵니다.
Welcome back to Worlds 2025. We're in our first semi-final. We are currently 1 apiece between Gen.G and KT. Both games have been roller coasters so far. The first one going in KT's favor, the second in Gen.G's after they picked up that Ocean Soul and were able to roll KT off the map. The question is, as we get towards the latter parts of Fearless, whether we'll start to see a few more spicy picks. Canyon obviously known for his Nidalee when we get towards the game 4s, currently sitting in game 3.
And to me, the biggest question on the side of KT is how do you deal with Keen, right? Because I think Keen has been very problematic in both games. Even in this Scion game, Perfect got pretty far behind in the laning phase. Yes, they did win that game, but Keen was really playing well in the team fights. And then you put him on the Ambessa, and I feel like he just crushed through a lot of those fights. Now he's going to be on red side, so I really am curious how KT want to try to set up Perfect and how they're going to try to deal with Keen, because he's been a tough ass.
think that is really hard to do, because to me, what Perfect is doing today is really the best of what we could expect from him, right?
Yeah.
I think that he is doing his very best at not giving Keen any advantages, not ended up going down in side lane, which is something that he really struggled with throughout the year. The reality is just that finishing and successfully completing the Keen test is a nightmare for any top laner. It's why Keen has been held in such high regard for so long, despite the teams that he's been on. And Keen has been looking the same, I think, as we saw him really throughout most of this year. I think save for Ruler, but for Chovy, he needs to step up big time in this next game. Kenyon, I think, is still kind of akin, some good moments, some not so good. But even with BDD's rise in form, domestically, Chovy has always been able to match him. That head-to-head is very firmly in favor of Chovy for a reason as well. But we're not seeing that thus far.